In this episode today, we're going to talk about saving seeds. And there's also a problem with these Brassica seeds, which I'll mention in a minute. I'm John Folks. So this here is Swiss chard. This is Swiss chard that's going to seed right here. Look at that, Swiss chard seeds. So there's some radish seed pods, and there's a radish blossom. Let's grow someplace. So this is what the kale looked like, and this is what the seed pods look like here. Right here I've got a whole bunch of Brassica seeds that I hung up to dry a while back. What I've got here is a whole bunch of seed pods, and they're all for kale. I'm going to take these and hang them upside down so they can dry out, because I've got gardens that aren't producing food right now. They're just producing seeds, which I kind of want to gather and try to grow myself. Good enough, let's get to it. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut these here at the bottom here. This one here. Can you still see them? All right, so sometimes I just take these and put them into like a paper bag or something, but I don't have a paper bag or anything to put them on, so this time I'm just gonna hang them on my fence because it's nice and high anyway. We'll just see how that does. I'm gonna tie them together good with twine or anything biodegradable. I don't want to have to pick out a whole bunch of stuff. If some of this ends up in the garden, it'll just rot out. I wonder if I can just hang that. Hey, look at that. I bet you I'll be able to hang them like that. All right, so I could have just tied it to something, or I could have put it in a bag, but I'm just hanging it on the fence and just getting it out of my way for now. Once they dry out and they look like they're opening, maybe I'll put it in something and catch them, or worst case scenario, they just fall into the ground and they start growing. I don't care. All right, let's just speed this up and get this whole thing done. Be right back.
Did you get something you didn't want to?
Yep.
Oh no! I'm sorry, but I have to get a shot of that.
When cutting stuff in the garden, do be careful. I cut all of the stems off and let the roots in the ground. I'm not going to pull those roots. I'll pull any weeds and weed roots that I find, but I'll leave the little stumps from the cabbages or whatever plants they were. In this case, mostly kale. I'll leave the little stumps from them in the ground. I'm not going to disturb the ground. I'll let them rot in the ground. I'm not really worried about it. And I'll just plant around them with other plants, with other whatever I'm planting in there. Probably some of this stuff that I've got back here behind me. Yeah, stinging nettles seem to take off really well in well-cultivated areas. So I'm going to go put this one here where it will not have a chance to grow again. Be right back. Okay, so now we're several weeks later, and the pods are starting to, some of them are starting to open up, so I know that it's ready to take them and put them into a bag. I could have put these into a paper bag if I only had a few of them to start with. I could have put them into a paper bag and let them shake out into the paper bag if I wanted to start with. Then I wouldn't have to worry about a second step. But for me, I've got so many of these that I decided to hang them and let them dry out in the sun, take them and get them into a paper sack later so there'd be less space taken up. Look at this one here. This one here's already opened up. And whenever these guys get to where they're just going to open up on their own and the seeds are going to come out, then I need to get these guys into a paper bag or something, some sort of sack to let the moisture get out of them the rest of the way, but also to capture the seeds. Otherwise the seeds are just going to be in the garden down below. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a bag. Usually I'd put this in a paper bag, but because it's going to be more interesting to see it through plastic, I'm going to use a plastic bag. Then I'll transfer it probably to a paper bag later. I'm just going to attach this up here. Okay, so I'm going to take my seed pods here. I'm going to see if I can't get them into this plastic bag here alone. Be much easier with an extra person, but I'm just kind of breaking up the little seed pods inside. And if you look here, you can see that I got a whole bunch of seeds here at the bottom. I could have done this in a paper bag or a cloth bag too. Okay, so there's a picture of the seeds and some of the shave inside the bag. Just try to shake all the seeds, break all the pods. Then you can take it out of the bag again. In fact, typically I would reach in and really work it. I mean, how many brassica seeds do I really need? And there's also a problem with these brassica seeds, which I'll mention in a minute. Okay. Now we can kind of look at these guys and see all of the little holes in this have popped open because I've broken them. Well, most of them. Here's one that didn't break, and here's one that didn't break. But for the most part, a lot of them did. And how many brassica seeds does one person really need? That's what I usually keep these for myself, and I just throw them in places where I have nothing else growing just to cover. All right, there we go. One done. Okay, sorry for the noise in the background. Okay, so here we go with, I've got all this chafe here. I've broken all this down and I've gotten it all in this bag, and I get it all shaken down, and we've got the seeds down here in this corner now. Let's go out to the backyard where we're gonna try to separate them. Okay, so noise or not here, we've got a little gold panning project now. So we would just use this gold pan or anything like it to get the chafe, a good portion of the chafe away from the seeds. But you're not going to be able to see anything if I use the gold pan. So I'm going to use a white dish. It's roughly the same size as a dinner plate. What I'm going to do first here is I'm just going to take a few handfuls of this chaff, the shells from the seeds, the pods. I'm going to take the light stuff off the top and get them out of the way. So I got that stuff pretty much out of the way here. I'm just kind of working it, making sure anything that's in it drops to the bottom. I can throw away anything that doesn't seem to have anything left in it. Now, as you see down here in the bottom, let's see if we can bring this up a little closer. See down here in the bottom, there are a few more seeds in here. Not a whole lot, so I'm not that worried about it. Now we're going to get the larger amount of the seeds and stuff into this bowl carefully. All right. Once again, we're just going to take off the shells that are empty as much as possible here. Now, like gold panning, the whole idea is to leave the heavy stuff. The light stuff isn't what you're looking for. You're looking for the heavy stuff. So if we just drop this stuff a little bit, all the light stuff's going to end up at the top, and we can get rid of the light stuff. Another thing we can do, if we don't want to just sit there all day trying to get little bits and pieces out, we can take a sieve or a colander. As long as the holes will fit the little tiny seeds. In this case, as long as the holes will fit the seeds that you're straining, you're set. So in this case, brassica seeds are really small, and so I can just take. I don't know if you can see below there or not, but I can just take this and just keep straining it out. So I'm just moving it around in the colander and letting all the seeds fall down below. And then once 99% of the seeds are out of there, I can just dump that. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Pull out any big pieces that ended up in here. And our next goal will be to get the rest of that chaff out of there. And the easiest way to do that would be to actually let the wind blow it out. We can also help a little bit. Usually there's a little bit more wind than this here. Okay, leaving us with mostly just seeds. Okay, all right. And so there we have it. We just have seeds in the thing. There's a few little extra twigs and stuff in here that we can get rid of later, but it's not really that important. More importantly is to make sure that there's not a whole lot of bugs that are going to be eating the seeds on you. For the most part, those drop out when you get rid of the chaff, and I'm not seeing the bugs that I had earlier, so I'm thinking I'm pretty good. Let's see, when that's more than the seeds you get in a package, that's a pretty good setup of seeds. Okay, so now we need to have an honest discussion about seeds. You see, this is kale seeds, or at least this is what we approximate to be kale seeds. It's brassicas of some sort. It'll have cauliflower and broccoli and cabbages and all of my kales. All of those are going to mix together when they get pollinated. And when they get pollinated, you're going to end up with crossbred plants. And therefore, the seeds are going to grow crossbred plants, like a broccoli kale or a cauliflower kale or a cabbage kale. The good thing about it is that all of the brassicas are edible in every stage. So you can eat the flowers like you do on cauliflower or broccoli. You can eat the leaves like you do on kale or cabbage. So these little seeds here, grown and dried from the kale plants, no matter what they're crossbred with, will still grow edible leaves. And that's what I'm shooting for, is the edible leaves. Now, when you get into other things, like squashes, and you have crossbred squashes, you end up with a zucchini pumpkin. It might not be what you're shooting for, but it could be something very interesting and entertaining to eat. Who knows? Then there's the things like, I might have shown something, I might have shown oregano going to seed. You know, really, oregano is so easy to propagate from a cutting. Why would you even try to take it from a seed? It's very difficult to actually start it from a seed. Same with sage. Difficult to collect and start them from seeds, but you can take them from a cutting very much easier. Things like the garlic. I won't probably collect the seeds from garlic. Garlic actually goes into a ball of flowers, and then just like onions do. But some garlics actually go up and have little cloves at the top, and when they fall over, they plant themselves about a foot away from the other garlic. My garlic's elephant garlic, and what it usually does is it'll go up and blossom. I think it has seeds. I don't remember if I had seeds last year or not. But once that plant starts dying down, I can dig it up, break the cloves apart, and plant those. So I don't have to try to grow it from seed. So on some things, it's so much easier just to start it from part of the plant than it is to try to start it from seeds. In the brassica situation, every once in a while, I will collect seeds and I'll grow brassicas that way. Most of the time, I'll just buy the seeds because I want to know what variety I'm actually going to end up with. You also have seeds that are in fruits, like tomato seeds are actually inside the fruit when you're eating it. So to collect those, you have to kind of dig them out and dry them out. Someday maybe I'll have a video on how to collect seeds of tomatoes, but you still have the same problem where they cross-pollinate. And if they cross-pollinate, then you end up with a crossbred tomato, which really isn't the worst thing that's ever happened. Okay, so we grew kale. We picked kale until it grew and it started shooting off to seed. We ate some of the flowers. There were still flowers left that grew seed pods. We let the seed pods grow up and get big. We cut the bushes down, we hung them up and let them dry. We could have turned them upside down and put them into a paper bag and put them in a dry spot to dry too. That way we wouldn't have to go through a multiple process thing. Then when they were all dried out, we got the seed pods to all break open. We took the chaff or the seed pods and the extra branches and twigs out, got those separated from the seeds. Then we put them through a sieve or a strainer of some sort to get the bigger pieces off of there. And then we're down to just the little tiny seeds, which we could continue doing this here all day long, getting more and more of the chaff out of there on every breeze. I'm not going to do that. I'm fine if there's a few little pieces of leaves in there. But that's a pretty good basic way to collect seeds for your brassicas, and actually most plants that grow with a seed pod. I almost forgot. When you go to save your seeds, put them in a paper bag. Ideally a dark colored paper bag. It doesn't matter, I guess. The key is so that water can go out, can dry out of it, and it won't condensate and cause a puddle of water someplace, causing seeds to start inside the bag. All right, these guys are ready to be marked on them for what date I saved them, so that when I go to use them, I know how old they are. Thanks for stopping by. Another thing, the bell, and subscribe and like if you like this video. And if you have any ideas for videos, please, down below. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Right, honey? Right? Isn't that right? That's how you do it? Honey?